What's up, everybody? Dusty Isaac's first. Oh wait, Dusty Isaac's first guy in the chat. Give him credit. He's finally made an appearance. It's been a while. We're not used to Dusty getting here at the beginning of a stream, let alone any at all lately. Big W late rally for the high school team. That's right, Barks. That's right. Found a way to get it done. Heading to the Final Four. We have hard hitting factual data today. Yeah, Dusty, let us kind of clue us in on this hard hitting factual data that you have put together. I'd actually like you to forward your thing to me. All right. First round dub, 10 inning game. Our freshman shortstop hit a go ahead RBI double to get us the lead in the 10th. Love that. It's specific to ACC, though. Just some data on what has/hasn't worked to secure a large or an at large or a host or a national seed. Okay. Dusty, if you want to email it to me, I can pull it up so we can look at it. I'm going to give everybody 5 or 6 minutes to get on the stream. Oh my gosh. All right, well, release the data then. Let's go. Release the data. Oh. The duffel bag boys are ready. Mm. What is what? Yeah, dude, I haven't eaten lunch, man. I got Chick-fil-A. Sue me. This is not a paid ad for Chick-fil-A, by the way. Also, your face yesterday when you said the bio of the hitting coach of the Brewers had me crying on the floor. Yeah. Zen, what's up? Hello from Texas. What's up, Zen? It had me kind of crying as well, Canes, just to be honest. Dude, I'm so sick, just to be honest, I'm so sick of these like baseball influencers like John Boy. And don't get me wrong, like his videos are funny, but he's like, I'm officially pro two bag at first base. No more clipping of feet or running into fielders. Base runners have to run in foul territory, but touch a base that's in fair territory. If it was a two bag situation from the beginning of time, no one would question it. We just nod and say, yeah, well, yeah, that makes sense. Like, how about we just leave the game the way it is? It's like, oh yeah. I guess it sucks that like if the ball gets hit hard, the ball's hard. So if it gets hit hard and it hits a pitcher like in the face, they're in a lot of trouble. Let's just make the ball like a wiffle ball. Let's just play with a wiffle ball. I mean, it's just, I mean, like, can we just let people that have played the game? There's nobody in professional baseball that has played the game advocating for two bases. All right, Dusty, let's go. Where's the data? ACC data. Let's go. Come on. Did you see the football game between Auburn and South Carolina last night? Yeah. The old 24-2. I mean, my God, man. South Carolina's 5-20 in the SEC. I mean, that's insane. That's insane. And everybody thought, obviously at the beginning of the year, everyone thought South Carolina was going to be legit. Like they're a good team. They just have not played well in conference, man. And Auburn could really solidify their hosting it, but like even potentially national seed chances here with this weekend. How does that not spark a fight with somebody? All right, let's start here. When FSU beat the brakes off us last season, it was war after the game. All right, so Dusty, guys, Dusty's got all the data here for what it takes to be an at-large, a host, or a national seed out of the ACC from recent years. Let's start here, Kyle. Where is the line of demarcation in the ACC for one, at-large, and two, host? I'm going to say for at-large in the ACC historically has been 15-15 or 14-16. For a host, I think historically it's been like 17-13 or 18-12. Our outfielders hit one of their players with the laser from the outfield. Around the sixth inning, the announcers were talking about a mercy rule being added to Major League Baseball. Will this ever happen? What are your thoughts? I hope not. I mean, that's like the whole point. Again, like I've told you guys, they're trying to take the strategy, all of the in-game strategy, how the game is played, out of the game. So if you put the mercy rule in the big leagues, now you don't need a manager who knows how to manage a bullpen either. Right? So we're just making the games, it's not baseball anymore. I think after compiling the data after this week, we will have a really good idea who the hosts are going to be for the SEC and the ACC. Did you advance in the playoffs yesterday? Yes, we did. We did. Going back to like 2008, actually, Miami is the only team that went over 15-15 and didn't make the tournament in 2017. Yeah, and that's crazy. Okay, this is a good starting point. There's been one team ever to host from the ACC with an RPI over 20. Wow. So that is a prereq. Auburn and North Carolina looked like national seeds last night. Yep. I'm going to take it that you lost your playoff game. Answer, how did you lose? We won. I told you we won. We're going to the Final Four. Listen to this. Only one team ever has had 19 plus wins and not hosted. Miami 2011 with RPI of 15. Wow. How does that happen? I hope not. You have to learn how to take an ass whooping like a man. MLB teams will be able to hire anyone to manage a bullpen. Yeah, I mean, they've already taken strategy out of half of the game by making the National League go to DH. And if they implement mercy rule, I mean, it's ridiculous. What's the mercy rule? By how many runs? So basically, if you get to 19 wins, you should be a host. But if your RPI is north of 20, then it becomes a thing. But I also think this. The ACC and SEC, as far as anyone's concerned, is so far, not so far, but it's definitely like there's steps up from the other conferences, the other Power Four conferences. So I think if you look at an ACC team that's 19 and 11 in conference, even if their RPI is outside of 20, in my mind, they still have to be a host because they're in what the ACC is the second most difficult conference in the country. I think SEC has 7 hosts and leaves ACC with 4, maybe 5, and then what? 2. So 2. You'd be like, I mean, Coastal Carolina, if they continue to play, they're going to be a host. FSU, Clemson, and UNC are locks. I mean, you can't say lock yet because you can get swept. I've been trying to tell people that with expanded conferences, not all conference records are the same. That's straight from Kendall Rogers. Focus on RPI, not conference records. You're not wrong, Zach. And that will, like, I think that would explain if Georgia Tech gets to a 19 and 11 record, but their RPI is north of 20, and they don't get a host because unfortunately, Georgia Tech didn't play. Now, Wake Forest, that's a wash because Wake Forest has not played like everyone thought Wake Forest was going to play. But Georgia Tech has not played Florida State or UNC. And right now, those are the two best teams in the ACC. And so, again, it's like, but I also think Georgia Tech's RPI is more in favor. No one thought Miami was going to be as good as they are. So that being swept by Miami does not look as bad, especially being on the road, as it would have at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen. Coastal and West Virginia are looking strong to host. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Coastal and West Virginia, I think, are the 2 other hosts. That's from Kendall Rogers, not from me. Yeah. No, and it makes sense. I mean, that is definitely true. And I think that's definitely true. I think in the SEC, like pretty much all schedules are the same. unless there's some people that don't play Missouri because that's been a free sweep so far. But in the ACC, you definitely have some teams like Georgia Tech that have had a little bit of an easier schedule than other teams. So I think that does come into play. And then Kyle's favorite, Oregon State. What about Oregon? I just don't. I can't envision. See, here's the thing with me, Dusty. I think that the problem with the NCAA tournament and the committee is they like to have hosts all over the country. So they're going to give the West Coast like 2 hosts. At minimum, they're going to give the West Coast 2 hosts. Maybe they don't, but they're going to get them. They're going to get them. Look at Miami. We've played 3 of the worst teams in the ACC. Yeah, but you've also played 3 of the best teams in the ACC, right? You played NC State. You played Wake, who's they haven't been amazing, but they haven't been bad. You played Florida State. Was it UNC the other one? They play Missouri and South Carolina, 2 teams that would still be 0-24 in the ACC and 5-19. Yeah, I mean, again, like I'm not saying the SEC doesn't have some weaker teams. I just think the ACC and that a funny thing is, look at Notre Dame. Like that sweep of Notre Dame by Georgia Tech is starting to look better and better because Notre Dame's all of a sudden coming up on people. So, and this is what I don't understand, Dusty, and this is why the RPI metric is like sometimes it makes perfect sense, sometimes it doesn't. Oregon has played a more difficult schedule. I believe they have a better record. We can double check that. And they beat Oregon State 4 straight games. But Oregon State across like college baseball, like the writers and everything, is predicted to be a host over Oregon. Like, let's see let me see. I'm checking out. So Oregon State's 35-12. Oregon is 35-13. So they have the same record, but Oregon has beat them. And Oregon's number 5 in the country right now, ranking wise. How does Oregon not get a host? I don't get it. And Oregon State, big weekend. They're facing Iowa this weekend, and Iowa's played really good in the Big Ten. I mean, they're 32-15. They're 21-6 in the Big Ten. So we'll find out a lot. I mean, this weekend we'll have some really good info. Miami, Dusty Isaac says Miami is not on the host bubble, barring a 5-1 finish. So they have to go 5-1 to be a host, is what you're saying. You guys are chatting so fast. I think Wally Pfeiffer said West Coast could go Oregon, Oregon State, Irvine. Yep, definitely could happen. Let me catch up on the chats, man. You guys are killing me. Oregon may have the best offense in the country. Certainly one of the best. ACC top to bottom is night and day better than the SEC. There's no free sweeps in the ACC. In the SEC, there is 2. I mean, you're not wrong about that. Missouri is a free sweep. You're right about that. I don't think South Carolina has been close to that. They haven't quite been that. But I understand what you're saying, Canes. I understand what you're saying. But the ACC has more weak teams. Pitt, Cal, BC, Stanford, Notre Dame. Dude, Notre Dame's getting close to 500 ACC plays, Zach. No, they don't, Zach. These teams will all have series wins over top 10 teams, unlike anyone in the SEC. Oregon loaded with Vegas power. Dude, Vegas is a hotbed. Vegas has got a lot of talented players. Pitt, Stanford, and Cal are killing the ACC specific to this year. I don't get why they should. They all have big series wins, unlike the SEC. Yes, 5-1 gets Miami to 19 wins with strong enough RPI. Yeah, I agree. And I think Miami can do that, man. Miami can finish it. The NC State series was a test for me because NC State was playing so hot. And I thought, okay, if Miami's legit, they're going to beat NC State. And Miami just really dominated them. So, Dusty, right now, I want you 1 through 16. I want you to give us what are your hosts according to your data. Who are the hosts? Miami's not taking the series against UVA. I don't know, man. I don't think UVA's offense is that good. I don't think UVA's offense is. I think Miami's pitching staff is going to dominate, and this is why I say Miami. Ever since their pitching has been dominant, ever since they made the rotation changes, and ever since Cuvée came back to playing like Cuvée, their offense has been much better as well. So I just don't see Miami losing another series. I'm not now 5-1's tough, right? But I think they definitely go 4-2. Zach already has $600 on Miami today. Dusty is stirring the pot right now. Yeah, but they already lost last night against UNC, Dusty. So they only have 5 games left. That means you're calling them to win 5 straight games. Because remember, they Sunday against Miami they did not play, so they have one less. They only played 29 games in ACC play this year. So NC State, what you're saying, they have to win these next 2 games against UNC, and then they sweep Stanford. I totally think they can sweep Stanford based on what we've seen. But I don't know. UNC is a different animal now. I don't see NC State beating UNC this weekend. Throw everything you got, Zach. Zach, my sales job doesn't pay me enough to gamble 600 on college baseball. Hey, coffee's for closers, Zach. I would never do that either, only if you're up on the account. The way I look at it is you're up on 2 or 3 straight games on us. If you lose, you only lose 100. NC State RPI is 29. Yeah, but I mean, again, if they win these remaining 2 against UNC, that RPI probably gets pushed way closer into the top 20, I think, for sure. But then they can't lose to Stanford. They lose. So basically, Zach, I think what Dusty has said is 100% right. For NC State to get a host, they probably have to win these 5 remaining games. I think that's the only way. Because you can't if you win both games against UNC, your RPI gets boosted into the top 20 probably. And like Dusty said, there's only been one ACC team with 19 wins that didn't host. It was Miami in 2011. And then there's only been, and what was the RPI in the top 20? I think, Dusty, there's something. It was I forgot what it exactly was. But so if NC State's at 20 wins in conference and in the top 20 RPI, they have to be a host. But they can't afford to lose a game against Stanford because that will kill the RPI. Is Payton staying as the Sunday starter for Georgia Tech? I think so. I think that's what they're doing now, and it's looked good so far, but we'll see this weekend. I mean, that's a test against Louisville. All right. Dusty's hosts as of right now. Texas, LSU, UGA, Arkansas, FSU, UNC, Clemson, West Virginia, Coastal, Tennessee, Oregon, Auburn, Vandy, Oregon State, Irvine, Georgia Tech. 14 and 16 is really hard to nail down. Like you talking about in the ACC play. No teams 14 through 6. Oh, 14 through 6. Okay. I got what you're saying. Yeah, no, I think, I mean, we've talked about it the last couple of days. I think this year, more than maybe, and maybe it's just kind of how it always is, but it just feels like this year there's so many teams there's a lot of teams that, like, if they don't finish well, they're not hosting. There's a lot of teams, if they finish really strong, they're going to host. So there's just, like, it's very hard, I think, right now. In some years, you feel like, all right, 12 of the hosts or 14 of the hosts. This year, it's like, 8, probably, maybe 10. But still, like, if you look at Tennessee, like, all right, Texas, LSU, UGA, Arkansas, those teams are all probably locks, right? Florida State, UNC, Clemson, in my mind, is not even a lock because they are not playing well. They lost to Coastal this week, and they're not playing well the last 3 weeks or two and a half weeks. So Clemson is in a situation where if they figure it out and they win the remaining series, they're a lock. But if they lose this weekend, they all of a sudden that's in big time limbo. Same with Tennessee. Auburn won last night. And so what, they're like 14, what is it, 14 and 11 now? Let me check. 14 and 11 in the SEC. But again, like, let's say they lose these next 2 games to South Carolina, then they're 14 and 13. And then they have 3 games. Like, they could finish below 500 in ACC play or in SEC play. So I think there's a lot of teams outside of Texas, LSU, UGA, Arkansas, and Florida State and UNC. So that's 6 teams. Maybe you could say 8. Like, maybe you think, all right, Coastal's a lock, but Coastal could fall apart. But Clemson has Duke and Pitt. That's 18, 19 wins in conference. But Duke's playing a lot better. Dusty, Duke is 14 and 10 in the ACC, and they're 33 and 15. They have the same record in ACC play as Clemson. Like, Duke is not a pushover. They were not good early in the season, but they have really, really righted the ship. And I'm not saying, I think all of your picks are pretty much right. I'm just saying, this year more than any time else, you have a lot of teams. Over half of the projected hosts could end up not being hosts. And it's not about getting swept. It's like if they just lose the last 2 series of the year, all of a sudden, it's definitely not a lock. I think they lose 2 of 3 to Duke. And this is why. The whole year, what have I been saying about Clemson? I think they lose 2 or 3 to Duke, and I'm going to explain why. And I've been saying this the whole year about Clemson. What worries me about Clemson is the offense is not good. The offense is almost anemic. I mean, the offense, if you go look at their team batting average, go look at their runs scored per game, it's not that good. Friday night for them, Aiden Canuck has not been as good as people thought. He certainly has the stuff to be a dominant Friday night starter, but this year he just hasn't really been that. He's got a lot of strikeouts, but he gives up a lot of extra base hits, a lot of hits. And like I said, Clemson's offense is anemic. I think Clemson's starting rotation falls off big time after Canuck. And they've won like every single game they win is by like 1 or 2 runs. So at some point, that's kind of turned against them, right? You play in a bunch of close games, yeah, it's going to even out over the course of a lot of games. And it seemed like the whole first half, almost 2/3 of the season, it's just like they won every 1-run, 2-run game. And I just don't think that's like if you look at the run differential, and this is something my dad taught me, when you're looking at a team that's actually really good and that's a dominant team, you look at run differential. And I think if you looked at Clemson's run differential, it's very close to 0, like very close to 0. And again, doesn't mean you can't be a good team, but that's an indicator of, this team may not be as good as you think. I think they play great defense, and that helps when your offense is not great and your pitching is solid. They have a really good bullpen. I'll give them that. But I don't think they're in a stretch right now where they are not playing well. They lost to Coastal in the midweek. So again, I just think I don't know, man. I think Duke's playing well. They've been on a really good run. Clemson has not played well the last 2 weeks. So I think Duke's going to win this series. And if you can explain to me why that's dumb, then I would love to hear it. If not, you're being a clown. All right, let's see what we all said here. How did you predict A&M falling out the number 1 spot? I didn't necessarily predict that, Smitty. What I said was honestly, what all I said was it's going to be interesting to see how A&M plays with a new head coach who was a guy that no one expected to get hired. And so it wasn't as much as like, oh, I predicted them to just not play as well. It was more of just like, this is not really something you've ever seen where a guy was hired who no one expected. No one expected it. And he's a first-time head coach taking over a preseason number one team. It was just kind of like, that's a lot of pressure and all this stuff. So it's not that I predicted it. It's just like if you looked at everything going on for that team, it just looked like, it's going to be interesting to see how that team functions under those circumstances. Listen to this. 2023 NC State, 13-16 in conference with RPI of 24 and got in. Wow. That's about the worst season you can put together and get it in at large bid that I can see in the ACC at least. So we know if you're a 3-loss team or you're 3 games under 500, I guess that's 19. That's 19. So they missed 1 game that year as well. But if your RPI, really, if your RPI is high, that's what you're looking for. Who does GT have this weekend? Louisville, big series. Big series. Hey, Kyle, how did you guys do in Game 3? JD, what's up, man? We won. We won 5-0. So we're going to the Final Four. UCSB pitching staff will make a deep run. I don't know if UCSB will get in, though. Is UCSB projected to get in right now? I haven't checked on them in a while. But they were projected to be the number 1 mid-major in the country this year. UCSB offense is very average. True. Rank these ACC pitching staffs: North Carolina, Miami, and FSU. I think you go FSU. I think you go right now the way I would go FSU, Miami, and then North Carolina. Seems like Knapp is probably going to win ACC Pitcher of the Year unless he craps the bet against FSU. Yep. Yes, love their pitching, but bats are hit or miss. Yep. Wow, DeCaro has righted the ship, ended up putting together a really nice year. Yeah, dude, UNC, again, their offense looked bad. Their pitching looked bad. Like, everything was going really wrong. And then they figured it out. UCSB teams in past few years had more slugging. Yep. Thoughts on Georgia high school baseball? It is very good. It's very good. I got Miami, Miami, Miami. Seems like Lodi's from FS. Daniel Cuvée wins ACC Player of the Year. Seems like Lodi's from FSU or Cuvée for ACC Player of the Year. Yeah, I think Lodis is probably the favorite right now, to be honest. Here, that work thing getting in the way again. What are we talking? That's enough out of you today, Buck. I wouldn't expect Miami's pitching to continue throwing the ball like they have been over the last 3 weeks. I don't know. I think you can expect Hughes to keep throwing the way he has. Siskar, like I said, I've been told from multiple coaches, like he is nasty and a nightmare for right-handed hitters in particular. So I think Siskar, ever since he's moved the rotation, he's been really good. And the same has been true of Darius. I mean, that like those two, they have not skipped a beat since going into the rotation. What brand of creatine would you recommend for a freshman 15-year-old serious player in the weight room and playing on a major select trial team? I mean, honestly, just any. I mean, you can. It doesn't matter. I mean, just micronized creatine somewhere from like a vitamin shop or something. I don't. The brand's not really a big deal. I mean, it doesn't matter which brand. They're going to keep throwing like it, Dusty. We got the best freshman in the country. Johnson Anderson is the greatest. Lodis, Burris, Cuvée, who wins ACC Player of the Year? I don't think Burris does, unless he really goes ham like these last 2 weekends. I think it's Lodis. I think it's Lodis from Florida State. He's hitting over 400. He's still hitting a lot. I mean, he's playing shortstop. Like, he's got a lot of bombs, doubles. Like, I think just overall it's him. Going to be a quick book on Darius and Siskar. Hughes is pretty good. Oh my gosh. Ring number 5 is coming in the next 3 years. Dusty, get ready. I heard Miami has made a big offer to Drew Burris. Stop. Yeah, I think Canes made him an offer while Georgia Tech was playing down there. Alex Lodi's batting .436 with 16 home runs and 60 RBIs, and he will probably be able to stay stat pad against Cal. Yeah. I mean, I think it's Alex Lodis unless he falls on his face. Like, it's just, I just don't think there's any way, unless Cuvée hits like 6 home runs in the next 3, And what you could say is if Cuvée, let's say Cuvée has a massive weekend this weekend, he has a massive weekend next weekend, and propels Miami to, like, again, what Dusty said, like 5-1, getting to the point where they're 19-11, they can be a host, then you could say that Cuvée is the ACC Player of the Year, not only based on numbers, but based on the impact he had on his team, getting them where they are. So I think if Cuvée has 2 big weekends, he could potentially slide in there. But I think right now, Alex Lodis is the favorite by far. How much would Cuvée get on the open market? A lot of money. He'd get a lot of money. Like probably 300,000 or more. I mean, because every year it kind of goes up. I just don't know, how much is it going to go up by every year? You don't really know until the portal opens. Having my creatine now started this week. Brain fog better. Nice. Same, man. Kyle, how concerned are you with McKee's stalled development? I think it's concerning. I mean, I think everyone thought, and again, I'm not saying McKee's a bad pitcher, but he's definitely not like a true Friday ace. He's like low 90s consistently. Like he's in the low 90s, right-handed pitcher, low 90s. Like that's a dime. There's a dime a dozen in the ACC. I mean, that's every right-handed pitcher you face. So the fastball, just pure velocity wise, not talking about the metrics or anything like that, is nothing special. His slider, I think, is a good pitch. I don't know if it's like a nasty pitch. Again, it's not like his strikeout numbers are out of this world. His strikeout numbers are fine. Generally in college, if you have a true weapon pitch, you're going to have a high strikeout rate. So I think McKee's a good pitcher. I think his command has been better this year. It's not like world changing better, but I think he's just more. He's around the zone more. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if is there something to when you throw a whole lot of sliders that your fastball velo goes down? I mean, that's what it seems like to me. It seems like to me as the season has gone on, he's lost some velo. We were projected to finish 11th in the ACC. Now we might finish first. Yeah. What are your predictions for Vandy, Tennessee? I think Tennessee rights the ship. They've lost 4 out of their last 5 series, but I think Tony Vitello finds a way to get a series dub. Do you think if GT and the only reason I say that is I think Vandy's got some. This is Vandy's identity this year. Vandy's identity is nothing wows you, but they play, and this is Tim Corbin. They just play very fundamentally sound baseball. They've made Vandy has made less than half an error per game. So they played, let's say, 45 games. They've made 22 errors. So they do not beat themselves. And that's Tim Corbin. Like if you've played against Vandy, if you know the coaches there, I mean, Tim Corbin, I mean, it's almost like when you watch them in BP and how they work, it's almost like you're watching like a boot camp. I mean, it's like it's that disciplined. And so Vandy, in my mind, they don't have superstar power. They really don't have star power. They have some names that people know, but they don't have like big star power. But they're very fundamentally sound. And so I think Tennessee has way more talent across the board, but they've kind of been up and down this year. So I think if like Tennessee can beat any team in the country when they're playing well, and you just think they're going to break out of this little slump they're in at some point. But it was sort of unfair to McKee, unreasonable expectations. Yeah, I think so too. JD wins Coach of the Year. Yeah, I mean, shoot, why not? Why wouldn't JD win Coach of the Year? Our turnaround is strictly on coaching and making tough decisions. Yep. Tim Corbin always makes Vandy play above their talent. Yeah, that's why he's an elite coach. And again, they always are super fundamentally sound. And I listen. I know it helps they play on turf for defensively, but there's a lot of teams that play on turf and they're not making less than half an error per game. That's elite numbers defensively. If you're making less than 1 error per game in college baseball, you're doing a pretty good job. They're less than half an error per game. So, I mean, that's the best numbers I've seen of any of the teams I've looked at. I don't know where they stand nationally, but I'm sure it's way up. They're way up there as one of the best. I think this reason helps GT's hosting chances. Yeah, that's a good point, Zach, that if GT finish strong, they'll give Danny Hall a host in his last year. That is something to consider for sure. Link Jarrett, Scott Forbes, JD, or Danny Hall. The tender heart bleeds for Danny Hall, the GOAT. All right, guys, that's it for me today. I got to go. We'll do a stream tonight while games are going on. So good luck to everyone's teams tonight. I'll see you guys later around 10 o'clock.